So the only thing I'm very confused with this whole thing is, right? I see Monsef's story. I see Soho's story. I see these two companies trying to work together, whatever, talk about it, and kind of going back and forth. But what about the owner? Why is he so quiet? Why is he not saying anything? Why are those videos not out? Why is he not speaking his part? Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you. Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys, and today we're going to talk about it. What happened to She Wants to Z's blown 3.7, pretty much $30,000 build on his Nissan Z? Guys, we're going to talk about in this video because, honestly, if you are not in the VQ world, there's a lot of beef going around, and there's a lot of pointing the blame, but all we know is there is an owner without pretty much built motor, and there's a built shop, and there's a tuner, and who is to blame? So first thing, shout out to my whole Boost in Motion family. Thank you guys so much for your support. I know you guys have already hit the like button. Also, if you're new to the Boost in Motion channel, I am Boost in Motion. I'm a Nissan 50 enthusiast, car enthusiast, also a Mercedes E63S owner. I'm in the Mercedes gang, but I still show my love for my VR30, but also in this case, the Q family. So guys, let's jump into it. Quickly, I'm going to show you guys some clips from She Wants to Z's YouTube channel, so we'll wait for that. Also from Soho Motorsports, and finally Admin Tuning. Shout out to Monsef. So this is going to show you a couple of clips from the different, and I'm going to give you guys my own personal opinion on what it seems like what's going on, because everybody has different stories, and honestly, it's best that you watch everything. So first thing, remember, I want to say this as a disclaimer. It's a 1,000 wheel horsepower 370Z. 1,000 horsepower 3.7. There's a lot of money that needs to be spent in it, and honestly, Soho Motorsports is the one who's pioneering, pretty much the only shop making this most powerful VQ VHRs pretty much in the world. So just understand that. Not much other companies are doing that, all right? So they would have enough experience to say what they know and what they've experienced. Cool. Also, Monsef is a tuner. He's been tuning VQs for quite a long time. So he has experience as a tuner. Cool. And She Wants to Z is a YouTuber, but also a car enthusiast. And he's just the person spending the money and driving the car and making the content. So they'll definitely check out all three of their channels. Now, remember this. It's 1,000 wheels horsepower cars. Not all cars can make 1,000 wheel horsepower easily without there being a lot of stress. So I want to use this quick clip first, because I think it's a good example on what you guys need to understand. So first thing, fair use, okay? Fair use, okay? Let's go.
The
fair use.
With tuning,
fair use.
The high horsepower setup, in general,
fair use.
There's always going to be some kind of finger pointing or some bullshit going on when there's a failure.
Yep.
Try to be as objective as possible. From a tuning standpoint, all precautions are taken. When we got the engine back, we had somebody.
So quickly, but as a quick pause on there. Why did I want to play that clip? Because whenever you're building a car, when things fail, you try to figure out who to blame. Do you blame the engine builder? Do you blame the tuner? And most of the time, people like to blame the tuner because technically, I gave you a product, and if they made their modifications and it failed, then you say, hey, the tuner was the one doing the software because they're the engineer at it, right? So it's always easy to blame the tuner. Just want to use that as a quick disclaimer. So quickly, let's go to She Wants to Z, right? I'm going to use this clip from like about 4 or 5 months ago, and let's jump into this part.
All right, guys. Well, after all that fucking running around and hecticness.
Also, fair use. I can use these clips as a reaction. Fair use.
It will not make past 898. So
fair use.
Right at the 900 horsepower marker, which I'm not mad about. Realistically, it's probably what I'd run it out on the street, but we're running into a limitation. It's only at 77% on the injector duty. We think it's either the intercooler or the manifolds are too small. So we want to see over 1,000. We're going to have to change one of the two things up, if not both.
Yep, fair use.
900 wheel, it's going to be the fastest this car has ever been. We'll see what it does. on the street after.
All right, so that's a pause on She Wants to See. So you guys go definitely check out his YouTube channel. His channel has grown in the last 2 years. He was working hard to get it up there, but he did go through some pitfalls. Remember, he blew his VQ, stock VQ, and then he spent money to get a built VQ, and then that popped too. So I could just know how much it hurts with all those years of spending money and time and just waiting, and boom, it still ends up broken. Cool. So now we're going to go to Soho Motorsports. This is what Monsef, shout out to Monsef, he's admin tuner, the tuner that you first saw, who stated, was talking about there's going to be issues. So listen to this part. He sent an email to Soho Motorsports, the engine builder. And also, Griffin, let's go.
I agree that the back pressure on Griffin's turbo kit was an issue for the power he has set out as a goal for himself. However, him and I had different expectations of how the engine will hold in such a short amount of time, and I had also told him before the head gasket had failed that 850 wheel is where he should keep it, not only because of EMAP, which is exhaust manifold absolute pressure, but because of the intercooler. Only 2 dyno runs were done over 880, the rest were in the 800 to 860 range. I'll stop there.
So,
Also, my intercooler, apparently a bunch of people knew before I knew that it wasn't even to make the horsepower number I wanted to make. And if Soho knew that, I don't know why they wouldn't make some suggestions to me before we finished the build. Hey, you should probably get a bigger intercooler. It was just like, nope, buy it, and let's see what happens.
quickly. So now that we understand here, from what we can quickly get all 3 people together, Soho told them, well, from what he could said, Soho and the tuner is telling him, hey, listen, sounds like there may be a restriction from exhaust manifold. The tuner understands that, Soho understands that, and the buyer, She Wants to Z, wants to understand that. So pretty much keep the boost low. But here's what happened. After the dyno, pretty much the car started spewing coolant. So after that, give me 1 second, guys. So let's go to this part right here. 1 second, guys. I want to make sure I'm giving you guys the right information.
Turns it back on after about 30 minutes, and then it just starts puking coolant out of the exhaust. He tops the coolant off and drives it back home. So he's driving it home from the dyno with a blown head gasket. It's about an hour and a half drive.
Pop right there. Issue number 1 that I see. If your car is eating coolant, you top it off, you drive it home an hour and a half. No, you're mixing coolant into the combustion chamber, and it may be getting to other places like your oil. The oil is turning milky. Messes up pretty much the oil. You guys understand where I'm going at here. And you drive an hour and a half with that, with kind of a partially lifted head gasket or seepage, whatever you want to call it. Right?
Another thing I'll bring up, driving the car home. So when you guys see my dyno video, if you guys watch the dyno video where we couldn't make over 900, the car was fine in the dyno, never pushed any coolant until we shut the car for about 30 minutes, and then we turn it back on. It's puking coolant out the exhaust. We're like, what the fuck? We don't know what to do. We let it warm up for a second. The second the car gets back up to operating temperature, the coolant goes away. No more smoke out of the exhaust. So at that point, we're like, hey, we'll go drive it. We'll see if it gets hot. And if it gets hot, we'll just have to tow it home. We drive the car up and down the street 3 times, never moves from operating temperature. So that's what made us drive the car home. We didn't drive the car home with it pegged at 240. We drove the car home cruising it, and it stayed at operating temperature the whole way. So don't act, I hate that I'm looked like, oh, this idiot drove the car home while it's overheating with the lifted head gasket, blah, blah, blah. No, we drove it home completely fine operating temperature, watching it the whole way. And I had extra coolant with me in case something did happen.
So let's go to this part. Let's go back to Soho Motorsports. Right? I'm just piecing this together because you guys need to understand whose fault is it here. Let's continue.
To have coolant in it, this alone deletes the theory that the bearing damage occurred due to coolant being adjusted by the engine during the drive home, which, if I may say, is
wait. Let's say it again.
Coolant was observed entering cylinder 4, as per our PDF. So,
let's go.
During teardown, it was observed to have coolant in it. This alone deletes the theory that the bearing damage occurred due to coolant being adjusted by the engine during the drive home, which, if I may say, is also a major point against the client for driving with a damaged engine. One of the things in our initial warranty paperwork states that if any problems are observed with this engine for any reason, it has to be pulled and shipped back to us
Yes.
for review. And the reason we do that is because obviously these engines are very expensive. We don't want anything that could have potentially not been damaged to, not sustain further damage due to driving the vehicle 30 miles after the dyno session when coolant was observed. So,
quickly, guys, we're getting this together. No matter if you're Team Soho or Team Admin, or even She Wants to Z, I see issues here. But you guys are not going to care about that because you're going to sit there and think, oh, well, it still failed. It doesn't matter what happened after. It does, because it lets you know exactly what further damage may have happened down the line. Right. So let's continue now to this part right here. Right. I want to go to Monsef's IG. Right. Quickly.
Can you lift the head on a bulletproof motor? Yes, you can.
See?
Can you lift the head from detonation? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Can you lift the head from a shitty tune? Yes, you can. 100%.
But I don't believe that's from detonation. I believe that is from the fact that it was chugging coolant after it was removed from the dyno, and so we're trying to compress something that is not compressible. Third problem, which I think is big.
Let's pause that right there. This is the guy who pretty much take a look at it for, I assume, admin tuning, to break it down to and take a look at the engine. He sat there and said this bearing wear came from coolant pretty much mixing with the oil, right? Mixing with the oil, and it's getting compressed because obviously coolant can't be compressed, and that could come from either head lift, and that then thus wore out the bearings, right? Because the failure of the head lifting, right? How do you make that type of diagnosis when the owner drove the car another hour and a half, 2 hours after that? It could have happened then. As stated in this video, the car was tuned, went to 898, came nothing spewing out the car, parked the car, no issues. For whatever reason, guess what? After he went to start the car back up, spewing fluid now out the exhaust, now the head lifted, whatever reason was deformed, and now there's coolant coming out, right? At that point, don't drive the car anymore. That's where you stop. That's where you stop. You don't continue driving. If you have a misfire, you don't keep driving the car with a misfire, because you're going to flood the combustion chamber with fluid, and that's going to destroy the walls and the piston rings, and it's going to mix into the oil, and then the car will run like shit, and you can cause more further damage. Period. This is what happened here. Let's go to this part right here.
Bigger than, honestly, the other two. The last two cylinders on both sides overhang the most. The last two cylinders, 5 and 6, were also the ones that had the coolant that into the combustion chamber.
All right, so he talked about where the coolant actually came into the combustion chamber, right? Quickly. So go back to here. Let's go here. Let's see what Soho says in their observation.
With the PDF here of our actual breakdown, we were very clear that rod bearings cylinder 2, 5, and 6 had the observed detonation and cylinder pressure issues. So the gentleman that was in the video held up rod bearing number 6 and said that the reason that damage happened was due to coolant being inside that cylinder, and you cannot compress a liquid. Unfortunately, that conclusion is false based on the fact that no coolant was ever observed entering cylinder 6. Coolant was observed entering cylinder 4, as per our PDF.
So this is them taking a look. The motor was taken out and sent directly to Soho, and this is where their inspection is. Cool.
So,
So, you guys kind of understand it. Also, I want to fast forward to this part right here. Yes, guys, we're really breaking this down because at the end of the day, these companies are the ones we go to, we want to trust, but we won't want to go out and spend $15,000, $20,000 on a product and knowing that there's no security and protection to make sure you're good. You get what I'm saying? Also, you don't want to go to a tuner and knowing that, hey, they don't take responsibility for possibly making a mistake and effing up. But that's why you signed those disclosure agreements saying he pretty much can't sue me. This is all on you.
The you know, the head gasket overhang was prevalent in the cylinders, had bearing damage. This fact, as explained in the original Tech Talk video, was due to fatigue. Copper is a resilient but a soft metal by design, and care must be taken in regards to cylinder temperature to ensure fatigue of the gasket does not happen. The reason all of the torching happened is because of cylinder temperature, not specifically detonation, which is what we tried to explain in the original Tech Talk video. There were multiple variables that actually caused the coolant to enter the cylinder. So
Someone from their camp goes, "Oh, no fun. Could have been a defect with the plug." I've seen that happen a couple times like that. Do I clip where Mr. Hungry's talking about, "Oh, this is from detonation," and put it in here? I guess I will.
imagine the amount of violent vibration that had to actually go into the cylinder head in order to shatter the porcelain on what was reported as 3 spark plugs had actually broken porcelain on.
They've already said they've experienced the same thing multiple times. But regardless, you guys are either seeing detonation from their tuning as well, or it's a spark plug defect and it has nothing to do with detonation whatsoever.
So pause right there. Think about that. If anybody has ever worked in with materials, I've worked with materials, especially copper. Yes, it's actually compressible. It's bendable. You can pretty much squeeze it. It's not like steel. So when it heats up, it's a lot more pliable. So if you're actually putting head studs and clamping it, and then the block is getting hotter and hotter, guess what? It's a softer metal. So if there's excessive amount of heat for a certain amount of time, it can cause a failure. Yes, it can. It makes sense. But as he stated in the video, well, it comes from excessive heat. We don't know how much heat was actually in the combustion chamber. But later in this video, you'll see some more reasons why. This part right here. I want to show you guys this part too, because it's all over the place, man. This is just a big cluster, and it's just an owner without a VQ.
Did not, in our video, express nor imply any blame. We simply explained what happened, and others came to their own conclusions based on the facts. The turbo kit was incapable of making the power the client was after, and the tuner kept shoving boost and timing down the engine's throat to meet the goal, despite the tuner saying in an email that we have that he knew the turbo kit and the intercooler was not capable, but the client said to do it anyways. So I would like to ask you a question. At what point is our lawn block responsible for somebody knowing that something would damage it and doing it anyway?
Also, my intercooler, apparently a bunch of people knew before I knew that it wasn't even to make the horsepower number I wanted to make. And if Soho knew that, I don't know why they wouldn't make some suggestions to me before we finished the build. Hey, you should probably get a bigger intercooler. It was just like, nope, buy it, and let's see what happens.
Think about that. Monsef did say keep the boost low. He wanted to keep it low and even recommended it from the start of the video. But they wanted to make 1,000 horsepower. The turbo could possibly make 1,000 horsepower, but it's not the right setup, right? Either you need a larger turbo, or you need to get off of OEM exhaust manifolds, or a better intercooler. This is what was stated. But Griff wanted 1,000 wheel, and he got 898. So this was more of a power thing. The setup wasn't set up for it. And guess what happened? What happened? Did the head really lift? Was there detonation? The problem with this whole video, with all of this nonsense going back and forth, is whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Now, quickly, this first thing, I'm gonna put the links below to all 3 videos, because they all pretty much break it down and say what exactly happened on their end from what they know, right? So that's their transparency, right? Cool. But we are people who like to buy stuff, products, and services from people. And you guys actually really bang with your boy Boost. I haven't been in the VQ game for quite a while, and I really don't speak on these topics. Monsef is a really cool dude. I don't know anyone necessarily from Soho Motorsports. Well, I do know. Good friend of mine. But nonetheless, and Griff, I never met him. We don't follow each other. I do follow him on IG, but we don't really know each other that much, so it is what it is. Who's particularly to blame here? By the sequence of events, you can go, people are going to comment below, sit there and say it was missing bolts and stuff. When you go through both videos, you'll see what exactly happened. You'll get to know what really happened. Cool. But I'm going to talk about the things that I think are relevant, which make the most sense. Griff got a built motor, right? Built motor. Boom. Put the built motor in. Was told that the setup pretty much isn't, it could give 1,000 horsepower, but may be limited based on certain requirements. Could be the turbo, intercooler, and even exhaust manifolds. Cool. No problem. That's what they went for. Went with a tuner outside of Soho Motorsports. Fine, you can do that. I would recommend if Soho builds it, have Soho tune it. If AMS builds it, have AMS tune it. You know, it's just kind of more of a transparency because they'll back their product a lot more. But this is what you can choose to do. It's free. It's America. You do what the frick you want to do. Griff wanted 1,000 wheel. Push for 1,000 wheel. Notice with fuel and everything, just wasn't getting there. Found out those restrictions were there. Was advised from tuner. Was also told from Soho, hey, this isn't going to happen. And it was proven. Cool. Went for a couple of glory runs. 898. Went for a couple of glory runs. Went for 8 and hit 898. Went back down to a lower amount of wheel, which was recommended by tuner. Turned car off. That's it. At that moment, nothing happened. Turned car back on. Car starts to heat back up. Coolant's not coming out the exhaust. What does that mean? There is a failure somewhere, which we would assume head lift or some kind of seepage getting into the combustion chamber and coming out the exhaust. At that point, don't drive the car. Turn the car back off, ship it, whatever you got to do. That's it. You know there's a major issue. You know it's been built by whoever called. That's it. There's no more blaming who did what there, right? Cool. From that information, who do you want to blame? Do you blame the tuner for tuning the car and trying to keep it as safe as possible and you sign that paper? 2, do you blame the engine builder? They gave you a car that can reach there, but you technically, let's be fair, you're shoving air into something, and if there's a failure point, the failure happened. Now there's coolant getting into there. All right, well, the motor's messed up. You gave me a motor that failed, a ticking time bomb. You should fix it. Let's take a look at the logs, and you look through the logs. Once again, you go through these videos, and you get to see that there's some issues there that really shouldn't be there, right? But once again, I'm just a person looking on the outside, looking in. I also read books. I also look into this type of stuff because you should. This is science stuff. Look into it, guys. Read it. It's actually might be boring, but this is why I get to understand what may have happened and the way things work. You take it apart. Also, you look into different materials and why they use those materials. So, yes, head lift happened. There was a failure. Now the owner is like, all right, cool. What do I do next? I'm going to drive home. I just want to get home. I'm upset. Then you drive the car damaged. How are you gonna still want warranty on something that you omitted that you continue to drive? I'm gonna be 100 with you. Why would you do that, bro? Why would you drive something that's damaged? That's it. You don't do it. If you know something's broken, you shouldn't keep driving on it. It's a mistake, and it was a costly mistake. And at the end of the day, when I watched all the videos, from what it sounds like from what Soho was saying, they were willing to work with him. Seemed like Monsef and Soho were going to, Monsef and Soho was going to pretty much take care of him and do another partial sponsorship or something like that and make sure he's good. It looked like that was going to happen, but Griff said no.
Soho's video, they go, guys, we don't want you to think we left Griff hung out to dry. We offered him help. Guys, they offered me help. I'll show you what help they offered me. What they offered me was, we get $395,000. We fix your car, we tune it, we put our banner on it, and then you're helped. $395,000 doesn't come out of the air.
Hopefully in the next couple of days, he really comes out and let the cat out the bag.
At this point is when they're like, you know what? He's fucking right. Now we'll offer him some help, which is still not really help in the end. After discussing this issue further with our team, this only option, and this is the one you guys saw on the internet, Monsef covers the labor machining to the new engine, We put our banner on your car. I provide a statement saying it's not their failure. So, like I said, guys, do some objective thinking on your end. If you guys want to blame admin, if you want to blame Soho, do whatever you want to do. I'm not even going to get into that portion anymore. I'm just specifically here speaking on myself because no one's out of money besides me in this situation. I'm the only person that lost thousands and 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 thousands of dollars.
Yep, it is what it is. So, outside of that, guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Shout out to the whole Boost Motion family. I don't know if I'm gonna get a strike. No one will probably even watch this video, but I think one of these guys is gonna probably be upset with me because I said what I said. I'm just some dude on YouTube talking my shit, but at the end of the day, you guys sit there and take a look, man. Be objective. Like, I get you guys want to be on certain teams and everything. Team MS, team this, team that. Like, come on, man. Open your freaking eyes. It is what it is. Stop looking at one side. We're men here on this channel. We're freaking men. We're supposed to hear the whole story, not just one side and be like, oh, team this. No. Fuck that shit. I'm over that. That's it. Period. All right. So outside that, you have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You already know what to do. Hit me up at boostinmotion on IG. Facebook, also at boostinmotion@gmail.com. Otherwise than that, guys, I appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Check the links for all three of those YouTube channels and companies below. Thank you. Appreciate it.